Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Tuesday, December 4th, 2018. Today I'm going to recap last night's Monday night game between the Eagles and the Redskins, go over yesterday's NBA, NHL, and college hoop slate, look ahead to tonight's slate in all three of those sports. A big-name college coach is retiring, and NHL's getting an expansion team, MLB free agency, Heisman candidates, a coaching hire on a big-name team staff, and best bet of the day. All right. Monday Night Football last night. The Eagles defeat the Redskins by a score of 28-13. The Eagles are 6-6, and so are the Redskins. Carson Wentz is starting to look better by the week. 27-39, 306 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Colt McCoy started for the Redskins, 4 for 450 yards, but he got hurt. He's out for the year. And Mark Sanchez, 100 yards and an interception, as the Redskins are now down to their third-string quarterback. NBA. Last night's slate. A nice slate. Some good games. The Thunder defeated the Pistons 110-83. The Thunder avoid the trap as they improve to 15-7. They are 15-3 or 15-4 since their 0-whatever start they had. Whether it was 0-4, 0-3, I don't remember, but they're playing really good basketball right now. So Billy Donovan deserves credit for this turnaround, although they have two of the best players in the league in Russell Westbrook and Paul George. That should help you. Detroit drops to 13-8. Steven Adams actually had OKC in scoring in this game with 21 points. He had 6 boards to go with it. Paul George had 17 with 10 boards and 4 assists. Jeremy Grant had 15. Russell Westbrook had 18, 6, and 6. Nerlens Noel off the bench, 12 points, 8 boards. Dennis Schroeder off the bench, 12 points, 9 boards, and 6 assists. Blake Griffin had 20. Andre Drummond had 13. Reggie Jackson had 10. And Joe Leor off the bench had 12. The Warriors defeated the Hawks 128-111. Predictable of Golden State to go out and kick the Hawks' butts as they go to 16-9. Atlanta drops to 5-19. Stephen Curry had 30. Kevin Durant had 28. Kevin Looney had 14. Klay Thompson had 27. Jonas Jerebko off the bench had 12. Meanwhile, for Atlanta, John Collins had 24. Taurean Prince had 14. Trae Young had 20. And Kevin Huerter had 10. DeAndre Bembry off the bench, 11. Jeremy Lin off the bench had 14. The Wizards defeated the Knicks 110-107. Wizards were actually down by double digits in the second quarter. They came from -1. They're 10-14. The Knicks dropped to 8-17. Bradley Beal had 27. John Wall had 18 with 15 assists. Otto Porter Jr. had 15. Kelly Oubre had 21, including 5 3-pointers. Markieff Morris had 18. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 20. Enes Kanter had 13 with 16 boards. Emmanuel Mudiay had 16. Noah Vonleh had 11. Damian Dotson off the bench had 17. The Cavaliers defeated the Nets 99-97. The Cavs go to 5-18. Brooklyn drops to 8-17. Jordan Clarkson led the way with 20 off the bench. Alec Burks had 13 off the bench. Out of the starters, Tristan Thompson had 19 with 14 boards. Colin Sexton had 15. D'Angelo Russell, who has been improved since the injury to Karis LeVert, 30 points, 8 boards, 6 assists. Spencer Dinwiddie had 18. Shabazz Napier off the bench had 10. And also off the bench, Rodions Kurucs had 12. The Nuggets defeated the Raptors 106-103. The Nuggets go to 16-7. Toronto drops to 20-5. Nikola Jokic, great game for him. 23 points, 15 assists, and 11 rebounds. Juan Hernan Gomez had 15. Jamal Murray had 21. Malik Beasley off the bench had 15. He's been an improved player on the Nuggets this year. Kawhi Leonard at 27. Serge Ibaka at 15. Pascal Siakam at 14. And what a great win for the Nuggets that was. A team that I was skeptical that was facing a bit of a trap actually got trapped, and that was the Rockets. They dropped to the Timberwolves by a score 91-103. Good win for the Timberwolves. They've been playing better without Jimmy Butler. They're 12-12. They're one of the big surprises right now in the NBA, and Houston drops to 11-12. What a disappointment for Houston. Like, you don't lose to the Timberwolves after they trade Jimmy Butler, and you have Chris Paul back. Karl Anthony Towns had 24 with 11 boards. Jeff Teague had 14. Andrew Wiggins had 16. Robert Covington had 13. Taj Gibson had 15. Off the bench, Dario Saric had 12. Clint Capella had 24 with 8 boards. James Harden had 29. And off the bench, Eric Gordon had 10. The Clippers defeated the Pelicans 129-126. A good win for the Clippers. So the Pelicans, as a short favorite, fall short. As the Clippers improved to 16-7, New Orleans drops to 12-13. Tobias Harris, your reigning Western Conference Player of the Month. That was a big surprise to me. I just think they gave the Clippers a little bit too much credit. Yeah, he's been having a great season, but I think Kevin Durant was snubbed of the Western Conference Player of the Month because he carried that Warriors team while they were missing Stephen Curry, but that's just my opinion. Tobias Harris, 27 points. Danilo Gallinari had 24. Avery Bradley had 15. Off the bench, Marchenzo Harrell had 14. And Lou Williams had 20. Anthony Davis had 23 with 13 boards. Julius Randle started. He had 37 with 8 boards and 4 assists. He fouled out of that game. Drew Holiday had 32 with 14 assists. Darius Miller had 15 off the bench. Nikola Mirotic didn't play due to an illness. 5-game slate tonight at 7 o'clock. You have the Bulls and the Pacers. You have at 7:30 the Magic at the Heat. At 8:30 the Trailblazers at the Mavericks. 9 o'clock the Kings at the Suns. And on NBA TV at 9 o'clock the Spurs at the Jazz. NHL. The Lightning defeated the Devils 5-1. The Lightning playing a little bit better with their backup goaltender, as he was the number 3 star of the game. Tampa improves to 27-1. Devils drop to 9-12-5. I mentioned that their backup goaltender, Luis Domingue, was their number 3 star with 26 saves on 27 shots. The number 2 star of the game with a goal and 2 assists is Braden Point. And the number 1 star of the game with a goal and 3 assists, Nikita Kucherov. The Predators defeated the Sabres 2-1. The Preds improved to 19-8-1. Buffalo drops to 17-8-3. The number 1 star of the game with the goal, Ryan Ellis. The number 2 star of the game with the goal, Kevin Fiala. And the number 3 star of the game with 21 saves on 22 shots, Pekka Rinne. The Stars defeated the Oilers 4-1. The Stars improved to 15-10-3. Edmonton drops to 13-12-2. The number 1 star of the game with the goal and an assist, Brett Ritchie. The number 2 star of the game with the goal, Jason Dickinson. And the number 3 star of the game with 28 saves on 29 shots, Antoine Kudobin. Tonight's slate is a good slate. Big slate, too. We have at 7 o'clock the Bruins and the Panthers, the Jets at the Islanders, the Avalanche at the Penguins, the Flames at the Blue Jackets, NBCSN 7:30, the Maple Leafs at the Sabres. Great game. Sabres have a weird back-to-back, they were in Nashville, and then they come home to take on a hot Maple Leafs team. So give me Austin Matthews, John Tavares, and company to get the win on the road. I don't feel great about it, but I just don't like the thought of the Sabres being on a back-to-back, and then Toronto's well-rested with Austin Matthews healthy another game. Senators, Canadians, Lightning, Red Wings, 10 o'clock, Wild Canucks, Capitals, Golden Knights, and 10:30, the Coyotes and the Kings. College hoops yesterday, it was a small slate. Number 10, Michigan State defeats number 18, Iowa, 90-68. Impressive win for Tom Izzo's team. They are 7-2. Iowa is 6-2. Georgetown defeats Liberty, 88-78. Georgetown is 7-1. Liberty is 7-2. Number 4, Virginia defeats Morgan State 83-45. Virginia 8-0, Morgan State 2-5. Number 11, Florida State defeats Troy 83-67. Florida State 7-1, Troy 3-5. Number 12, Wisconsin defeats Rutgers 69-64. Rutgers is a better team than given credit for, actually. They're 5-3 and were competitive in both their conference games so far. And Wisconsin improves to 8-1. Niagara upsets Pitt 71-70. As Niagara improves to 3-4, Pitt drops a bye game. They are 7-2. Georgia defeats Texas Southern 92-75. Georgia is 5-3. Texas Southern is 3-6. UMBC defeats Coppin State 71-60. UMBC 5-4. Coppin State 0-9. St. Francis Brooklyn defeats St. Joseph's Brooklyn 104-75 as St. Francis Brooklyn improves to 5-3. East Tennessee State defeats Reinhardt 107-60. East Tennessee State improves to 7-3. Vermont defeats George Mason 72-67. Vermont 6-3. George Mason 4-6. Delaware State defeats Cairn 102-66. Delaware State goes to 2-7. Iowa State defeats North Dakota State 81-59. Iowa State 7-1. North Dakota State 2-7. Texas A&M defeats Northwestern State 80-59. A&M 3-4. Northwestern State 2-7. DePaul defeats Florida A&M 65-50. DePaul 5-1. Florida A&M 2-7. Montana defeats College of Idaho 80-52. Montana improves to 5-2. And last but not least, Cal State Northridge defeats Pepperdine 90-83. Northridge 2-5. Pepperdine 5-3. Tonight's slate's pretty big. At 6:30, you have New Hampshire at Seton Hall on Fox Sports 1. 7 o'clock, Big Ten Network, Indiana at Penn State. 7 o'clock on ESPN2, Providence, Boston College. That's a big game. 7 o'clock, ACC Network, Clemson hosts St. Peter's. Also on the ACC Network, you have Northeastern at Syracuse. 7 o'clock, ESPN, Jimmy V Classic from Madison Square Garden, Oklahoma, Notre Dame. Big game here. I think the winner of this game has an inside track on getting an at-large bid. I'm going to take the Sooners here, although Mike Bray's usually good at big spots like this. And Bray's teams have had experience playing at the Garden in the past in big spots like this from being in the Big East and stuff. It's just a hunch. Oklahoma's a 2-point favorite, and sometimes someone knows something and when you think the opposite. So I think someone knows something, and I'm going to take the Sooners, although I don't feel great about it. And somebody remind me next time I bet against Mike Bray in a big spot like this, if Bray wins this game, just give me a reminder that Bray's big in these spots usually, but I'm betting against him just for tonight. Just a gut feeling I have. Miami's at Penn. Radford's at James Madison. Davidson hosts Winthrop. Detroit Mercy's at Dayton. Number 25 Furman at Elan. Fordham at Maine. Bucknell at LaSalle. UMass hosts Holy Cross. UMass Lowell at Boston University. Jacksonville at Presbyterian. Army at NJIT. St. Francis of Pennsylvania at American. Howard at Appalachian State. Central Michigan at Youngstown State. Northern Kentucky at Cincinnati. 7:30 Bradley at Little Rock. Prairie View A&M at Louisiana Tech. 8 o'clock SEC Network. Alabama hosts Georgia State. Also on SEC Network, Texas Arlington at Missouri. Also on the SEC Network, number 22 Mississippi State hosts McNeese. Number 8 Auburn hosts UNC Asheville. Number 2 Kansas at Wofford. Lamar at Houston. Lipscomb at Belmont. UAB hosts Northern Alabama. Evansville at Arkansas State. Campbell at Abilene Christian. High Point at Valparaiso. Southeast Missouri State at Mississippi Valley State. Trinity, Texas at Incarnate Word. Footboone at Eastern Illinois. 8:30 Fox Sports 1 UTEP at Marquette. Sanitary and Grambling. 9 o'clock Big Ten Network. I like this game. Number 5 Michigan at Northwestern. This is trap. Am I really going to bet on or against, I should say, John Beilein? Chris Collins won these types of games two seasons ago when he got his team into the tournament. But it's hard to bet against John Beeline right now. Goodness. Am I going to do it? Am I going to pick Chris Collins to upset John Beeline? I'll say this. I'm going to say Michigan wins, but Northwestern covers the 5.5. The second half of the doubleheader on the Jimmy V Classic, you have Florida against West Virginia from Madison Square Garden. These two teams have played in big games in this arena before as well. West Virginia obviously used to be in the Big East. Florida played at MSG in the tournament a few years ago. These teams to me are pretty much even. Florida's a 2-point favorite. Both of these teams have been disappointing relative to expectations so far, so you could argue this is the battle of the most disappointing teams in the country. I'm going to say West Virginia gets the win here. I believe in Bob Huggins' team a little bit more. They've been playing a little better lately. They've won a couple in a row, granted against weaker competition. But I just haven't been impressed with the Gators, although I haven't really been impressed with Bob Huggins' team either. But give me the Mountaineers at MSG. So I like the two Big 12 teams tonight, ironically enough. But knowing my luck, I'm going to be wrong. These are just gut picks. But like this, someone knows something. Florida's a 2-point favorite. I'd make this actually West Virginia as a 2.5-point favorite. And I would have made Notre Dame a 3-point favorite. But I'm going to take the Vegas side with Oklahoma. But I'm going against Vegas here. I'm taking the Mountaineers. And I think Sagaba Kanate is going to have a good game blocking the rim and protecting the rim for the Mountaineers. And like I said, I like Mike White's team a lot. And I think this is the more intriguing game of the two. Although Oklahoma Notre Dame's pretty intriguing. But here's the thing. I think both of these teams find their way to the tournament still. Yes, West Virginia lost the bye game to Buffalo. But Buffalo is one of the best teams and stories in the country right now. Florida got their butts kicked by Florida State. And if if Buffalo doesn't hit that game-tying three in their opening game, West Virginia's sitting there at 6-1 and probably ranked. They probably should have still lost to Western Kentucky. That was just a bad performance by Bob Huggins' team in Myrtle Beach that day. But they'd probably be ranked if they didn't lose to Buffalo. So give me the Mountaineers. I just think they're the better team. Let's move on. South Dakota State at Memphis. New Mexico at New Mexico State. Pac-12 Network, South Dakota at Colorado. 10 o'clock, Bethune-Cookman at St. Mary's. St. Mary's has been a big disappointment so far this year. And last but not least, UC Merced at Cal State Bakersfield. Big news in college football today. Urban Meyer is retiring after the Rose Bowl. This doesn't surprise me at all. I kind of saw it coming after he got suspended, whether it was going to be a retirement or a parting of ways. I look at it as a retirement maybe, more so than a parting ways. Because they're actually saying he's retiring. And I believe what I've heard from sources out there on the internet. And taking over is offensive coordinator Ryan Day. Interesting move. This reminds me a lot of when Oklahoma's Bob Stoops retired and then Lincoln Riley took over. And Riley's done phenomenal. Maybe they think Ryan Day is their version of Lincoln Riley. We'll see. I'm not so sure. And I love what Riley's done in those 2 years. And he really has separated his team from the rest in the Big 12 in terms of talent and recruiting. Although Stoops is still going to get a lot of credit. But I think Lincoln Riley deserves a lot of love, and he is one of the best play callers in the country. But I think Day did a good job for Meyer. He obviously went 3-0. And the big game that he coached was the TCU game, in which if a couple things went against them, then TCU probably wins that game, but still they won that game. And TCU turned out to be a disappointment this year, so that win didn't really look as strong as people would have expected. So that's huge news in college football today, and I really am sort of surprised that Day's taking over because I thought that they were going to go big fish hunting because it's Ohio State. But then again, they looked at Oklahoma's model probably with Lincoln Riley, and they compared Day to Riley. So we'll see how that goes. Some baseball news breaking right now. USA Today's Bob Nightingale. The Phillies are making it clear to marquee free agent starter Patrick Corbin that they won't be outbid, and teams still in the hunt for Corbin's services realize it too. So this tells me that the Philadelphia Phillies are the front runners to land Patrick Corbin. That would be a big get for the Phillies. He'd be a great addition to the top of their rotation with Aaron Nola and Jake Arrieta. I think that would make them the favorites to win the National League East. Not to suggest that the Braves were a fluke last year or anything, but those three pitchers are better than any pitcher the Braves have. Or I'm saying starting pitcher. And to me, the New York Yankees are the big loser here if Corbin indeed goes to Philadelphia, which means that New York is either going to have to overpay for Dallas Keuchel, bring back Jay Happ, which those two aren't bad options per se. Overpay Nathan Eovaldi, that's not a bad option either. But Corbin was their clear target, and I think that a lot of Yankee fans and people in the New York media were convinced that Corbin was going to be a Yankee. But it looks like that he's going to be heading to the Philadelphia Phillies. And another avenue the Yankees can conceivably do is the trade route. Maybe they go out and get a Corey Kluber or a Madison Bumgarner. You know, the Mets won't even entertain a conversation for Noah Syndergaard or Jacob deGrom with them because Jeff Wilpon wouldn't even trade Jay Bruce to them a few years ago. So that's all you need to know about how the Mets feel about trading with the Yankees. So that's something to keep an eye on, as I wouldn't be stunned if Corbin's a Philly by tonight. Big news in the NHL. It's official. They are getting a 32nd team in Seattle. The name has not been announced yet. It'll be starting in the 2021-22 season. They'll be in the Pacific Division as the Arizona Coyotes will move to the Central Division. I guess it makes sense for the Coyotes to go to the Central Division because they're not moving any of the California teams. They're not moving any of those Western Canadian teams like the Canucks, the Flames, and the Oilers. No way they're moving the Vegas Golden Knights to that other division. So the obvious candidate to go to the other division would be the Coyotes. But that does make some sense to some degree because some teams, East Coast teams, West Coast swings, Arizona and Colorado have been back-to-backs for some teams. So in theory, it does make sense for the Coyotes to go over to the other division eventually. And then obviously they're going to have to do an expansion draft again in 2021, and there's going to be some players exposed again. We'll see if this ends up being a Vegas situation or not, in which they are good right away. But you never know. The Heisman Trophy finalists have been revealed. Tua Tagovailoa, Kyler Murray, and Dwayne Haskins. No surprise to me, those should be the finalists. Kyler Murray is actually the betting favorite to win the Heisman right now, which to me is crazy. Just because Tua Tagovailoa missed part of the SEC title game against Georgia doesn't mean that Kyler Murray should be slotted to win the Heisman. Kyler Murray had a great season. But Tua Tagovailoa is the best player in the country on the best team in the country. So Tua Tagovailoa deserves this award over Kyler Murray. Period. End of story. USC has hired Cliff Kingsbury to be their offensive coordinator. I think this is a nice move for them. Kingsbury obviously just fired from Texas Tech, as Texas Tech hired Matt Wells from Utah State, which is a great hire for them, by the way. Kingsbury, I think, will be a big help to Clay Helton and could potentially help save his job. And here's the other thing. if USC is an underachiever next year and he's fired midseason, then Kingsbury would take over as the intern head coach, and maybe it's an Ed Orgeron situation a little bit. You never know. And last but not least, the best bet of the day, sponsored by DraftKings. One NBA team and 11 college hoops teams. The NBA one's obvious. It's the lock of the day in terms of straight up, and that's the Indiana Pacers at home over the Bulls. Victor Oladipo or not, the Pacers are winning this game. The Bulls are clearly tanking. It's their first game under their new intern coach, Jim Boylan, but I think that Indiana is obviously the better team. They've been blowing people out without Victor Oladipo over the past week. They killed Utah in Utah without Oladipo, and I believe in this Pacers team. Domantas Sabonis is a beast, and I think that they're going to win this game going away. College hoops, St. Mary's. I'm going to bank on them a little bit. Yeah, they've been such a big disappointment this year, but I think they'll win this game. Tonight, Syracuse I like, Dayton, Furman, Appalachian State, Cincinnati, Davidson, Louisiana Tech, Valparaiso, Houston, and UAB. Plus 287. I'm wagering $1.26 with a payout of $4.88. And that's my best bet of the day. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with the NFL Power Rankings. I'll also be doing more MLB free agency talk. Go over, obviously, NBA, NHL, college hoops. Look ahead to tomorrow's slate. I'll also be doing guest the lines for Week 14 tomorrow as well. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.